for Tristana. I think it's a nice extra piece of leverage that LNG have been able to utilize because they also have very high Xayah priority. If they are on red side, they will ban it away. If they are on blue side, then they are happy to pick it, and they're happy to pick the Tristana into it.
And I gotta say, I also think that Tristana is a reason as to why KT, it might not be the only reason, but why they banned Kai'Sa, because KT love Kai'Sa.
Yeah.
It's aiming favorite champion by far. They got I think it was a 12-game win streak in the LCK because, like, for 10 of those, aiming just kept getting Kai'Sa. And it's something that they're really, really comfortable with, but you can't give it away to Gala, obviously.
I don't see a Azir yet. And
it's B1.
If
it's not banned.
Yeah,
it's Scout and BDD.
And Azir. I have to say, this has got to show up here. No? Okay. All right. All is right in the world. Nothing.
There will be no Azir in this series. There is no way either team's going to let it through.
Okay, so some of the power picks have been locked away. The Xayah, Kai'Sa, Orianna, and Azir. That does mean Maokai, Sejuani, even Zac for Kaz if he really wants to go down that route. Also Jarvan for Tarzan if he decides that he wants something a little bit more aggressive in the early game. Maokai are locked immediately for KT.
All right, what's the prio here for LNG? They have so many directions.
The Lahend shout out.
They can
love to see it.
All of the primary supports are up too. The field is wide open with so much focus on those 80 carries.
I think the problem with picking one of the powerful supports right now, especially Rakan for LNG, is KT could just go Poppy Talia, and then you are absolutely screwed as Rakan. You do not have a good time in any way, shape, or form. Instead, now they'll look towards the Jarvan. We'll see where they go with their second pick.
Yeah, particularly because BDD has been one of our better Talias. I think the series against, or the game against BLG was a bit up or down, but in general, definitely has been able to have great sideline impact. The Jace is another pick that I think you're going to be looking towards, as the Aphelios, which has been very consistently rising in priority, I think, throughout this tournament, as people start picking them up more and more. Obviously, we have a lot of great Aphelios players. The Jace with the Maokai is kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, you expect some sort of AD mid here for KT, and with the Tristana getting those magic resist nerfs, more people have tended towards the Jace, but they go for the blind Cassante first, lock that in for Keen. This top lane matchup is certainly one that people are really looking forward to, with Zika just having a breakout year on LNG. I think he's just skyrocketing to stardom there.
Pretty keen to watch how this top lane matchup does go.
Hey!
No.
I'm making you feel like Atlas is here, man.
The jet lag puns are the best.
You can do better, man.
I can do better, it's true. KT lock in their top side, the Jace, Cassante, Maokai combination. Aphelios already locked for LNG. Could look towards mid here. Nico obviously a possibility. We've seen how powerful she can be in the right hands, specifically BDD's hands, earlier in this tournament.
And I think that the Jace is always going to feel really good into the Aphelios specifically. Aphelios' biggest issue is playing into range, and we'll see, because this means that there's the opportunity for LNG to really pinch the AD carry pool here. Now, Lahens has been known for his insane amount of depth when it comes to champions, playing everything from Elise to Singe and support whenever you feel like he can get away with it. But for aiming, I expect to see Zeri and Ezreal bend away. And even though I don't think the Ezreal was in the bestest spot, it is an aiming comfort pick, and Ezreal and Jace as a combo with Mao, I think is really strong.
And they're looking across the board at those engaged supports, because once you're kind of locked in with that Jace, you're already facing hard engage of Jarvan and Nico. I think those are really good picks here from LNG. I know everybody's been so enamored with blue side this tournament, but this looks like a very good start to a red side draft for LNG, having all these engage options into Jace, a poke champion. And so KT are trying to cover the board here, take away some of those engaged supports as well off their hands.
So Ezreal left open with the Varus ban instead, does remove some more poke. Varus slightly stronger at outright damage poke than the Ezreal. I wonder if this is a Rel or a Nautilus ban. Obviously engaged supports, Rel does work really well with Nico and with the Jarvan.
Yeah, and the Varus also is a much stronger laner, which I think is the biggest difference maker. Ezreal also has been wildly unsuccessful, given KT's
I will
history.
say he would be a Korean Ezreal as opposed to a European Ezreal, which is quite a difference.
And I'm not an Ezreal enjoyer in general, but I do think that aiming is one of the better ones that we have. So we'll see if that's where they go. That, to me, is the one that really sticks out, as the Jax here should be no surprise at all. It gives you a matchup where obviously Cassante and Jax go generally pretty toe-to-toe early. If you get a lead, though, with the Jax, you basically just cruise toward a mid to late game where the Cassante can't match you at all. This would be something else entirely. I do think that Ziggs specifically is so hard to play into for Aphelios. Like, being outranged is a very unpleasant experience. Will KT actually go for it? Because I do think that this can be the type of curveball that can set you apart very early on, but it isn't really something that I expect out of aiming in this game, in this first game at least.
Not something we've seen him play at all this year. Instead,
No.
the Jinx locked in for KT. Important to note, this is before the Jinx changes that happened on 30 and 20, so you can't infinitely stack your passive as you could when you were getting 30 attack speed. Still a strong scaling pick here for aiming.
Yeah, those resets, not quite as scary as on live, but still certainly very scary. Can construct a team fight around it, and this is why they wait for their support pick. The Alistar pick comes in, so then they lower their priority on Rel, and they're like, fine, you're trying to preemptively counter this Rel pick. We go with the Renata, the counter engage here. So a lot of options. You know, this LNG comp can both move forward as well as kite backwards with this Renata ultimate. So very, very excited to get onto the Rift for this one.
And what it also does is it means that Lahen's level 1 is going to be not a champion because he's an Alistar, right? So that allows Gala and Hung to take control of the lane very early on. And I do think that if you can get to team fights, the KT comp can be very strong, aiming on a hyper carry. You have got a lot of poke, great frontline, great engage. But if the LNG comp finds an early lead and you get to just continually engage with this combination of Tarzan and Scout going into the enemy backline, you don't get to play the game. Having a lot of early bot side prio is really going to help with that.
Definitely is. Often LNG like to play through mid into other lanes. Scout really the facilitator alongside Tarzan to get themselves those early leads. Sometimes, though, they can be a little bit more reactive, looking for their opposition to try to make mistakes in the early game, cross-mapping, going towards that team fighting stage. Here, KT will be happy if they get towards team fights on an even keel, because if they do have an incredibly strong combination of champs.
Tarzan has been so good this year as well. He's a big reason why LNG games look so controlled overall. He's the one who oftentimes finds these angles and sets up these plays for Scout on this team as well. And as we get onto the Rift, my question to Huni in the castle room, I was like, oh, so I've already made my choice on these junglers, but if you were in solo queue, who would you rather have on your team, Tarzan and Cuz? And he was like, no question, Tarzan. So let's see if there is a jungle diff in this one emerging. Of course, KT getting Cuz, the Maokai, is pretty big, you know, huge priority pick. Oftentimes providing a lot more security with these saplings. Basically, you're trying to keep track of the Jarvan early on and make sure that Jarvan doesn't get to upset too many of your lane matchups. Primarily, I am looking at mid lane. Jace is a prime target for Jarvan Nico plays. Very, very easy to follow those ones up, but we're getting the early level 1 as well, the guaranteed Raptor ward.
Yeah, ward comes down there from LNG. I will bring attention to the fact that BDD is running Doran's Shield and Second Wind. Something I learned from APA on Twitter last night was on the Nico, you can actually change into a minion as your spells land, and you don't get the healing from Doran's Shield or from Second Wind. So we will see if Scout uses that very, very minute bit of tech to try and keep some of his poke landing onto BDD in lane.
Yeah, because you actually count as a minion.
A minion, yeah.
when they're landing there, so it doesn't proc any of the champion-specific things. I, too, just learned that last night.
Want to highlight that Zika actually went for an early invade. That plus the vision that they have should give them a pretty good idea, because actually very early on already swapping up his pathing, going from Raptors straight toward his top side.
So it is a path you can do where you get an early back at 1,100 gold because you get Scuttle Crab into your second Raptor respawn. Obviously, Cuz could just be hovering top here as well to make sure that Keen isn't under too much pressure in this matchup, but we'll see if Cuz decides that he just wants to try and accelerate his own gold a little bit.
Yeah, sometimes a lot of these champions that annihilate Raptors look for that one pretty early on. And Maokai is definitely one of those, with so much of the clear moved into the power of just Q. It's pretty much gated by Q cooldowns there and kiting on through the other one. Also going to mean you can end towards the bottom half of the map and towards those AD carries that are really going to make this game.
And as expected, hats off to Gala and Hunger early on, already getting the type of pressure that you do want to see when you're playing a ranged matchup into the Alistar. A lot of pressure early on.
Yeah, it's not really fair. Alistar doesn't get to do anything versus everyone shooting all these projectiles at him.
Oh, missed cannon.
Oh, it is a missed cannon. We should zoom in on it. Call Doran on the phone, be like, was that a deliberately missed one, or was that, one that he just missed because of the enemy pressure? I will say as well, the early Tribush ward from Gala and Hung allowed them that extra pressure. It has just expired, but it meant they had tracked Cuz to see if he was going for any early ganks down towards that bottom lane.
The anti-synergy with the handshake movement is going to be, as you mentioned though, the bottom side finish for Maokai. And he didn't full clear back to this side, so actually skipped out on the Wolves to get here earlier because of that big building wave and wanted to provide that safety for aiming for Lehens.
Well, the door's a bit of a lead here for LNG, mostly garnered through that bottom lane and through the fact that Tarzan's done a more conventional clear, so he is about 2 camps ahead of Cuz right now.
And for KT, this game kind of becomes how can you make sure aiming is having an okay game? And even if he
Flash, knock up, knock back, Cuz is here for the twisted advance, and Hung has been hanged out to dry by KT.
Well, there you go. The whole Lehens.
Flash, in front of Lehens! He stood still!
I am dead sure Chronicler was about to praise you, and then Lehens gives himself up to Gala. The flash goes through.
What is it with Alistar's,
Yeah,
man?
well, yeah, no, that's both sides of Lehens right there, everyone. Yeah, I have no idea. Starts with the play really nicely, sets it up, but then he also gets the kill, which in of itself, I think Ignite was still ticking. That's not really up to him. But then Gala also is able to get a kill and accelerate himself in this early game.
I love the lane gank though. Just calling down, Cuz skips his Wolves to get over here on the timing with the crash wave, with it right in front of the tower. Lehens goes for it.
Yeah, he walks up while still having the Graviton proc on him. So the moment he walks forward allows Gala to then chain and just take him down. So just not straight up disrespecting the damage that Phalios has early. And that is a really costly mistake, because I think that's exactly the type of breaks that KT need, because I think that this early game is going to be really rough. And even if you are able to keep aiming in an okay state, Zool, BDD with the phase rush.
Trading in, Scout down to 300 HP. BDD takes a chunk as well as he hits level 6. Scout now has that Pop Blossom. BDD about to level up as well. Needs about 3 more minions or so from this next wave.
Yeah, we get a look at the experience graph. I really want to see the gold graph for AD carries right now, though, because you mentioned the kill going over to Alistar with the Ignite tick, and Gala for sure being able to get his one directly, plus the CS lead, plus the turret plate. But mid lane?
Flashes forward, twisted advance, Pop Blossom, but pop goes the Nico as KT strike again.
And Cuz on this Maokai actually continuously pressuring multiple lanes, and if it wasn't for Lehens overstepping his boundaries towards the bot side, KT would be looking really good in the early game here. Oh, he sees the timeout.
Yeah, as he passes over. So he knows that LNG just saw him. Drop off a sapling, go grab your Krugs after this one. Wait, he's coming back. He wants to make sure that Jarvan isn't going to find anything here.
It's the power of the saplings as well, just gives you that vision control. Tarzan has been farming up a storm, though about 20 CS ahead of Cuz right now, but Cuz obviously influencing his lanes a little bit more with those 2 ganks and those 2 kills. Top lane, a bit of an island in this matchup. The Jax can win later on, but the Cassante very good at keeping him at bay in the early game.
Something that's really important to mention, though, is that Gala already is sizable ahead, right?
True.
2 or 20 CS, but he also has a call because of the 2v2 matchup. Aiming is not going to be allowed to start with that. So he's going to be so far behind when it comes to gold and his item completions. And I do think that BDD getting as many kills as possible in that light is going to be really big. It also, I don't know, Cuz might go for, a Demonic Embrace, but outside of that, this is going to be a full AD comp as well. So with the amount of backline threat that LNG have, I'm wondering to what extent, if BDD isn't able to further accelerate his own lead, KT is going to be able to keep aiming safe and actually fight those late game team fights where the comp is supposed to be doing a good job. Because if Zika goes for Frozen Heart and picks up a Zhonya's, good luck trying to play that as Jinx.
All right, let's take another look at it. scout here on the Nico. It was definitely one of his biggest champions through the year, but immediately smashed down into the ground, Cuz with a second successful gank there.
And the crowd here in Korea obviously supporting their hometown heroes as KT have taken a little bit of a lead, at least in terms of kills, but with Rift Herald spawning, Cuz is going to try and equal out the neutral objectives. Infernal Dragon secured for Tarzan earlier on. He does have push in the bot lane, so relatively easy for him to make sure that those neutrals and those drakes do go down for LNG.
And I want to say the reason for that Rift Herald, as we look at bottom lane taking some poke under here, as well as a tower plate about to go down, is the top lane health difference. Zika was pushed under tower with very, very low health on the Jax, so Cassante giving you some extra priority there, allowing KT a nice startup on the Rift Herald.
I like the play from LNG though. Like, don't even try and contest the Rift Herald. You know that Cuz is on it, so then Tarzan immediately runs down towards this bottom side. And it's not just about stealing away the red buff, although I'm sure Tarzan's very happy that he's got the extra camp. It's also that Aiming and Lahens know that Tarzan can be there, so they have to respect it. They have to back away. And Gala and Hunk can just push in further and take more gold away from Aiming's pockets.
Yeah, Tarzan never really wasting time, always looking to accomplish something else. And now he's got full jungle for himself to go back and clear as well as they get the bottom lane resets. Gala, I have to say, it was just such a big pickup for LNG. Trading LP in the middle of the year, adding him to the roster really has made this a concrete, formidable team here. And Scout, let's see. Will KT count the minions correctly? Will they press tab and see the highlight? Not even going to try anything sneaky.
Yeah, BDD has played a fair amount of defense, so I'm sure at this point it's ingrained in him.
Especially if you're just going in mid lane too.
Yeah. Yeah, if it's another lane, you know, maybe they can work something
Those
out.
AD carries, you can catch them sometimes.
Yeah. Ooh, and
Too busy CSing to count the minions.
Lane swap to come through here. Can they get something going?
And Zika still has flash and has a ward to jump away alongside a control ward. You can see Cuz on his way, the ignite going down onto Zika. There's the leap strike to start it off. Flash, counter strike, knock back. Zika dodges away from the Nature's Grasp, but now has nothing at his disposal to escape the clutches of KT, apart from another jump over the wall. I will think he's a little penned in here. Probably just going to die to the tower. Who gets the kill? He doesn't! He's got the blast!
No way! He did it! He's out!
Zika, you beautiful madman, as he escapes in the top lane.
He's actually out! And KT, I didn't think they were going to regret that headbutt and just barely missing the Maokai ultimate, but they do! Zika, you magician!
And he absorbs so much pressure because it means that that heavy investment gets punished on the other end of the map, where now, even with Herald going over to KT, the first turret bot actually goes to the LNG, and they're trying to strike back.
Crypto charges in, the tower doesn't quite fall as Tarzan goes in with the EQ flash. Chase continues. Zika looking for that counter-strike. Still cleanse of flash available for aiming as Lahens acts as a bodyguard. Counter TP. Behind them now as the twisted advance goes forward. KT looking for a little bit more. Tarzan flags and drags into the bush, but there's no escape for him. Only Zika, the Houdini of the Rift, can get away, but this time shut down again today. 4 kills for KT as they get the tower in the top lane as well.
It's merely a delayed death, and KT end up getting that kill plus the extra kill on the Tarzan plus the tower with their Rift Herald. And the best part about it, there is time to reset for Dragon coming up. So actually really nice timing for these objectives for KT. Here's another look at it. LNG, after the escape from Zika, they wanted to turn it around, but look at the river. It's the roam up the middle from Jace and the teleport coming in from behind. Cassante is here. Keen's going to be able to get the double pushback with the W, with the ultimate. And that's enough space. Tower already down to the Rift Herald means they get both.
And an uncharacteristic mistake from LNG as well. Very overforced play when aiming still had cleanse and flash.
Yeah, the key thing there is that Tarzan already is on top of aiming, but you see as well aiming very cognizant of the fact that there is no follow-up damage, and there are a Maokai and an Alistair standing bodyguard for you, so doesn't panic and is able to get out. Now, the big benefactor of that, on one part, KT, on the other end, Gala. I don't know if you saw the gold graph there. 6K. I think he was like a K and a half ahead of the next person in the game. Monstrously fed, but for right now, I don't think that LNG really have the control to try and fight this. We'll see if they want to try and force it nonetheless.
Cassante doing Cassante things. The Pop Blossom catches him right on the edge, but I don't think LNG have the damage to follow it up. Red-white for Gala, though. Does mean that if they could find a fight, perhaps they could win one. KT have set up their vision control down towards this bottom side. Aiming will be spotted on a ward as he works his way around to join the rest of the team, and LNG have given up the ghost on this Drake.
Yeah, they're making the call right now. Send Gala topside, get some more farm into Aphelios while you give up this dragon. Looks like they're taking over deep coverage of the jungle vision as well, so lighting up that blue quadrant. As long as Zika stays safe, though, should just be the objective.
And Mountain Dragon is really big because KT have such a one-sided damage profile in particular. I think for LNG, you know, if KT pick it up, you'll still be a little sad. I do think Nico in particular really falls off once resistances start to stack on the opposite side, as trying to clear the wave will be enough to at least deny too much, with Keen also showing up. But for KT, like if armor stacking on top of multiple Mountain Drakes comes through for LNG, I don't care how late in the game you get with Jinx, like you're not going to have the time you need.
And Jace always with some early lethality too, and that's greatly going to reduce the effectiveness there.
So Drakes are so important, which is good because it means fighting.
I spy some cloth armors. They're showing up.
Oh yeah, they know.
We'll see how the two teams butt heads around those objectives, but in our feature matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz, BDD and Scout continue to butt heads in the mid lane. We've seen a couple of good ults from Scout, or one that kind of caught the edge of Keen, the other one he died in the middle of casting it, so I don't think we can attribute the good moniker to that. BDD has got a lead in this game of 212 gold. Thanks, MasterCard. Lane economy snapshot coming up right at the opportune moment.
As far as the magic damage coming from the Maokai as well, since he didn't go the first strike, I personally actually think the phase rush is better. I really like the mobility, in combat that you're able to get with it, but also you do give up a little bit of the extra damage without going for the first strike. His demonic is done though, so we'll see how much work he can get done with the burn, trying to lay down some saplings now and pull out Rift Herald number 2.
We did see LNG setting up some deep vision earlier when they were pushing in the top lane. That vision's been mostly cleared out. There is one ward around where the blue buff stands, so there is a TP opportunity for Scout if he wants to come across. Keen is pushing in the bottom lane, Zika working his way up, so maybe KT will have to invest a TP of their own if they want to fight around this Herald any further.
Yeah, I think Zika pushing the mid lane forces them a little bit, so KT not going to go in for it.
There's the
Not
TP.
quite yet. They're trying to harass them though, and teleport does come out. Those Maokai saplings constantly annoying.
Zika just waiting in the bottom mid bush, perhaps seeing if aiming overextends, trying to get the mid lane prior, but Keen is doing a good job of shadowing his AD carry. Something that we are going to talk about a lot at this Worlds is the ability to keep your AD carry safe, and that's what KT are relying on so far.
And you always want to keep track of Scout. If you are KT, marking Scout is one of the biggest factors in success for these team fights for you. Scout has been so creative, so good at engaging for this LNG team for the entire year. And right now, he pushes in the top lane to a very low health turret, but looks like they both back off and reset the health on their Herald again. Round 4, I guess?
I've lost track as to how many rounds of let's start Herald and see what happens. No one has been in bot lane for like a good minute. That's a lot of minions just going to waste.
They're going about their own devices, okay? Let the minions do their thing.
Well, but then we don't contest in the end. We could just send Zika down to bot, and he teleport. You know, he can pressure a turret, and either KT get Herald, but you get an inner, and you accelerate your Jax, or you still teleport in and contest.
Yep. I agree with you, Chronicler.
Okay.
A wise point made by a wise man.
Well, I won't go that far.
Do you see the reset starting to come out?
It's a point made by a man.
There you go. Thank you, Kobe.
That's the end of the prayer as well, isn't it? A point by a man.
Yeah, exactly.
The Rift Herald was picked up by KT in the end. Still only 200 gold between these two teams. Honors even in terms of Drakes as well. And towers that have fallen even across the board. So getting towards this mid to late game, actually, KT in a really good position with their team fighting composition.
But LNG with a pretty good position in their item completion.
True.
And the Infinity Edge crits for Gala Aphelios.
Yeah.
Have you seen him crit a blue gun Aphelios ult? I want to see what guns he changes to next, because that may be one of the reasons that LNG decided finally, you know what? We're not going to take this Rift Herald number 2 fight. We're not going to, stake the entire game right now. Let's wait until we get Gala's an IE, and then we feel a little bit more comfortable. And he does indeed have the blue-red.
Looks like he's trying to cycle his blue right now. Let's see what gun he gets next. I think it might be white after blue-red, but my knowledge of Aphelios combos is worse than my medical knowledge,
You're
and that's 8
opening
years
up
out
a
of date,
deep can of worms.
We'll see where it goes.
So I'm really looking forward to what Aiming is going to build here. Aiming really encapsulates the full spread of LCK builds. You know, where Showmaker to me is like always really on point, has great thought processes. There's been multiple members on KT. BDD, the inventor of Triple Lifeline, back when you could still do that, even though they didn't stack. And Aiming, I think also at Worlds had a game where he didn't go for a Lord Doms when he really needed to. We'll see. Right now the armor stacking I don't think is that bad yet, but you know LNG is going to go towards that direction. And right now, do KT feel confident in trying to contest this? BDD does have teleport available, and Aiming just finished his Gale Force.
I think Gale Force is a good choice here. Gets you out of the EQ combo from the Jarvan and the Pop Blossom from the Nico. KT, I think, just investing in the mid lane. Rifthold at least coming down. Keen going to push out that wave as well. Aiming on his way to join his teammates, his comrades in arms. He gets the ult down and it's stolen by Kaz. How on earth do you land that smite in the midst of the fight?
And cause he might have his inconsistencies, but this man at Smite fights is ice cold.
You still want Tarzan as your jungler in solo queue, Kobe? Because I'm feeling Kaz is looking mighty good right now.
I do. It's so annoying, these Jinx rockets. I'm gonna chalk it up to that. Why did they buff the damage explosion of Jinx rockets?
Yeah, freak.
But that being said, the Jinx rocket didn't get it. You know, Cuz got that with his finger. So well done to Cuz, to the Maokai. Maokai ultimate, walking up and grabbing that one. If we look at the replay, I believe that was the last one to finish his jungle pet as well. So big stuff there for KT. Honestly, they still have some pretty good options though, splitting into the side lanes here with the Jax. Does have Divine Sunder done, so even though down the kill here to Cassante, doesn't feel it.
Oh, BDD towards a low turret. Also want to highlight, KT is on blue side in this game, and I do think we need to really highlight how important that is that they get the win here as... Wow.
I mean, it's a 50-50, right?
That Jinx rocket blows up for most of it.
Yep.
And
It's a lot easier to coordinate when you know the Jinx rocket's happening as well. So credit to Kaz. Tarzan, I think, very difficult to win that one out. And KT get their second dragon on the board, denying the Mountain as well from LNG. We talked about how powerful a Mountain Soul would be for LNG here. KT keeping them away from that goal.
Never get to see 1200. I mean, I know that feeling.
and then you know until you're getting pinged anyway.
Oh,
People are pinging that smite.
It's part of the role. That's when you also see in all chat, they have muted themselves.
Anyway, for the moment, both the teams seem to be very happy with just continuing to bounce waves into each other. They're looking for things, but everyone's respectful enough that no plays are really coming off.
This is great. You know, we're almost 21 minutes in, 5 kills.
Yeah.
I'm loving it.
My favorite Pokemon.
This is my tempo.
Yeah.
Wait, you never actually said. What is it?
I don't know Pokemon that well. That's why I was never.
You were bluffing. Who bluffs? Well,
because I knew Chronicler was going to bring us back to actual League of Legends gameplay. So.
Well, that's a very bold assumption.
Yeah, that's true.
On your
I watched the LCK.
I'm sorry. I would let you down on that one.
Okay.
Because, in the LCK, we know that there would be no fight until about 2 minutes.
Yep.
When we start setting up for the next objective. Up until that point, why fight? Like, what's the point?
I mean, honestly, yeah.
Why would you?
They've got
force
pretty
a
good
summoner
push.
of Aiming. That would be big.
Aiming, respecting it.
He
Lane
knows.
jumpers come down. Zika coming from one side. The counter strike flashed away. Aiming able to survive, and now Zika caught underneath the tower, tanking tower shots. But Daze is aiming. The Super Mega Death Rocket not enough, but he still gets the kill. Mid lane tower falls. White fight, you say, Chronicler. Well, to kind of maybe dive Aiming and then also get the tower out of it, I guess.
I gotta say, though, I think that's favorable for LNG because of the fight that should be coming up in about a minute. No sums on this Jinx means that if Tarzan gets an ult off, Jinx is dying. There is no way out for Aiming, but KT, they're not going to give him the time.
It wasn't
Deep
your
teleport.
tempo. KT's tempo a little bit more rapido than LNG's here as the Baron has been begun. The TP
Nico.
behind as well. They're looking for that flank position as Scout could find all 5. Scout goes in, the Pop Blossom lands and down goes aiming. Meanwhile, Keen gonna bring Tarzan back into the fight. He's got the Renata bailout to try and bring him back to life, and that will do exactly what it's meant to do in a fight like this. The TP coming in from Zika as he looks to join the fray. KT trying to fight, but will they live another day? Kaz has a blast cone, his last ally in this defense of the Baron. BDD trying to put the damage down from the side. LNG will not pull the trigger on a Baron of their own.
Yeah, Tarzan's so low, and there's a lot of poke left alive on KT. They have the Maokai and the Jace. Those are the 2 most annoying ones if you're going to try and start off the Baron. But here's what started it all. Tarzan went in, he EQ flashed onto aiming, and then aiming flashed, and Zika says, I was sending it all the way in, so Zika will not be alive for this Baron start. He does have teleport, though, so as soon as he does revive, he's able to join.
The TP that Zika used
it's
on the ward to
yeah,
escape.
it's actually the ward jump that enables this play. Otherwise, Scout can't get into the backline this way, because I think KT actually do a really good job. The moment that they engage on Tarzan, this could have been a disaster otherwise, right? But instead, thanks to Scout, they're able to deny the Baron play. It's not enough, though, with Kuz getting out alive and BDD still being there and his poke being a big problem for them to actually get the objective. And KT do still get prio, but don't forget, this isn't for Soul, so LNG can just walk towards the Baron.
Yep, they're going to do just that. There is a control ward on it here for KT, so they'll have a brief timing alert. Just going to leave aiming down here for the extra damage. And they should be able
LNG
to get
are not
it.
going to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they're trying to pull KT into the fight as BDD looks for something. Dragon down, Hex flash in by Lehens, but they don't know that Scout is here. KT in arrears in terms of their map awareness as Keen is locked up with a Pop Blossom, and now BDD in the middle of LNG. He manages to survive. Scout doing everything he can to keep his team alive. Garland on the backline, unable to approach as Scout will fall as well. 2 to KT alongside the Dragon.
KT get the Dragon, they get the double kill, and they're gonna push straight down mid lane. Aiming is getting out of hand.
And this is exactly what you want to see between these 2 evenly matched sheet. Number 3 LCK, number 3 LPL. This match is on a knife's edge, and initially, when I'm looking, I was like, KT, what is going on? But they are very cognizant of the fact that the reinforcements are there in time. Aiming already moved up, and all the damage goes into Keen.
Yeah, huge focus here from KT. They get both of Gala's summoner spells by Lehens and the follow-up from Keen. Even though they trade over, the extra kill here plus the push mid means it's a rich KT coming back onto the Rift. They have plenty of time to set up over by this Baron. Zika with the big goose egg in the last one.
Just wasn't there. I think he was pushing out the top side of the map. And that KT were able to find the engage. Still only 500 gold between these teams, but every fight in recent memory has gone KT's away. Aiming almost has his flash back up. You can see the win probability powered by AWS. Everyone says it's like an ECG. That is nothing like an ECG. If you got that, you're in asystole, and someone's going to be applying CPR pretty rapidly.
Again, one of the biggest knock-on effects from that last fight was Keen and Lehens getting both summoners off Gala. Let's see if they can punish him
now.
now.
So low already. Look at where Kuz is. That Baron might be gone before Kuz can even get in. And there's the hostile takeover coming out as well. The root being used for the Nature's Grasp, but Hung able to survive. And now KT on the back foot. Good knockback with the Pathmaker as Tarzan retreats to his team. But look at the Shurikens and look at Kuz's head. Health bar just get ripped to shreds. The Pop Blossom finds aiming as well, but he has that flash cleanse back up. The Cataclysm enough to find the kill as LNG advance. An unending march from LNG as KT can only stand and watch as their cow is mown down.
They can go for an end here, honestly. Oh, can they rush it? 25 seconds left on this Maokai. They're going to go for it. LNG.
Before the game, we said LNG were the best at jumping on their enemies' mistakes. It didn't even look like a mistake by KT, but LNG pounce once again.
And this is a blue side loss if KT are unable to hold on here. 10 seconds on the hands to 15, 14 on aiming.
I think they can hold. The first Nexus tower falls, but BDD does have the poke.
Yeah, they can hold
Do they
on.
re-engage? Do you have a TP anywhere? BDD has one if he wants to look for the flank. Great block, as you say, with the shape shifter. And LNG retreat. Only one Nexus tower between them and the victory.
And the killer instinct from LNG there. Not only do they start up the Baron and get that for free, but then you see the hesitation on KT and they punish it so incredibly well, right? Because, well, cuz Keen and Lens are walking up, they know they can't get to Gala, but meanwhile Gala is just free firing, and the moment that Maokai goes down, the rest of the team knows that catch from Scout on aiming ends up being so big, because with no sums, it's a free kill for Tarzan.
Green-white gun is so perfect of a combination for Baron too, because of the sentry and because of stacking up all those chakrams, so much damage. Gala, I kept on mentioning he doesn't have summoners, he doesn't have summoners. They don't need summoners. His team makes space for him, and he mows down the front line, allowing then Tarzan and Zika to follow up the dive onto aiming, and it is LNG punching right back.
Inhib in the mid lane, down for 4 more minutes. LNG have the Red Bull Baron power play for another minute as well. Tier 2 in the bot lane, their target as Scout pushes in. Vision control as well for LNG in this bot side. Jungle Hung denying any option for KT to control their own jungle right now.
And this is where the investment from LNG into the Gala fund really pays off. You see it in that fight. KT don't have a reliable way to get on top of this Aphelios, and he is so monstrously fed. BDG Shock Blast only finding Tarzan, not Gala. Also as a BT now, has a stopwatch as well. Trying to keep this Aphelios down is going to be so hard, and now LNG is going to be able to accelerate the gold, deny the soul with the Drake spawning in about 20 seconds. Zero chance for KT to contest here.
Man, Gala is really something else. What a great addition to the team. Had a couple of quiet years there, kind of being left alone, RNG, but MSI champion here, really showing up big. Let's see if they can easily pick up Dragon number 2 while KT are pushing out topside. Yeah, it looks like it's not going to be anything taken in trade for this Dragon. They're just trying to usher up aiming, get as much money as they can possibly funnel.
Don't do this to me. Don't do this to me.
Nah.
Okay. Smart play by LNG to back away from it, make sure it couldn't be stolen. It was at 3k as well, so I don't think it would have died, even if the Super Mega Death Rockets AoE had connected.
I do appreciate the observer's commitment to taking us on the journey.
Create suspense. Don't let you look at the Dragon health, but you can see on the minimap,
they're telling a story.
Yeah, everybody's moving way far away from the Dragon. Tarzan is like, don't you dare let this thing blow up on the Dragon. Because, of course, it can only steal it if it blows up on a champion next to your objective. Let that be a lesson. No more shaming junglers, please.
Now, the gold lead for LNG definitely relevant, but also I don't think backbreaking, especially with aiming approaching his Lord Dominic's regard. Once that is finished, I do think that KT still has the firepower to get through LNG, in large part because LNG wasn't able to stack multiple Drakes. But I think for LNG, if you take down aiming, KT's comp falls apart.
Yeah.
Whereas for KT, you need to deal with Scout somehow, you need to deal with Zika not getting onto your backline, and then you have the big boss waiting behind all of that, and behind the bailout, which is Gala.
Even redemption from Hung. You can see Lord Dominic's regards now finished for Gala. It's a minute 20 on the Baron. Thankfully for KT, it's their mid lane inhibitor that's down. It will spawn around the Baron time, but it's a lot easier to push out through mid than it would be to push out through bot in this sort of situation. You'd have to sacrifice either Keen or BDD down towards that bottom side to make sure that that wave wasn't crashing in. As you say, only a 4,000 gold lead for LNG, and with how close the fights have been, it is not insurmountable for KT roster.
Yeah, the hard thing for them to deal with now is that LNG both have priority in pushing out your side lane first with the Jax here. Zika very comfortably on the 3 item power spike with the Merc Tread protection, with the Zhonya's protection for himself on this Jax. Really, really good at leveraging the extra minion wave over there. And the rest of the team has such high priority when fighting from Fog of War. Because they have this, this Nico, because they have Tarzan, it really makes the low mobility carries of KT think twice about their positioning. Very difficult for BDD and aiming to move up, but there's the 4th item for aiming at least for the Jinx.
Mortal Reminder instead of Lord Doms. There's not a huge amount of armor on the side of LNG, but a little surprising to see the Mortal Reminder, especially since you already have an Oblivion Orb on Cuz. So if those saplings are hitting as Hung flashes, a game of millimeters, hearts in mouths there for the KT fans.
Yeah, I'm wondering, are they going to pull the trigger on Nash now? Otherwise, I don't know if that trade is worth it. Lance does have Hex Flash. But the flash on the Renata, I don't think as pivotal particularly, because as long as you can get a W and an ultimate off, still not going to be too sad as Shock Blast still not finding Gala, but look at the shield on him. Really hard to consistently poke that man down. And yeah, I was hoping for Lord Doms. I think that even though the Mortal Reminder right now feels like a good finish, as you get into the deeper stages of the game, Lord Doms is going to provide you with so much value, given that there's no AP damage as...
The Hens, Hex Splash in, they get onto Gala, but they don't have the follow-up right now. Aiming, trying to put the damage down, as Scout is going to join the fray. From the side, it's a 5-man! Only the stopwatch stop PDD from being ripped apart, but Gala will follow up with a shutdown onto the enemy mid. The chase continues here for LNG. Keen trying to get away the Counter-Strike, Aiming able to flash away from it, but the Counter-Strike still finds one. Zika was looking for another Leap Strike there. You could feel he felt the call of the cube, and now LNG will turn towards the Baron.
I don't know if they can though, because they don't have Smite, and Aiming has an ultimate. We'll see.
No vision at all.
He's gonna fire it. There's no way though. He gets this. LNG also should just move out of the way, and then they should be fine no matter what.
He's aiming.
They know it's gonna get caught.
It's taken.
That play, though, KT trying to set up a brush surprise play without keeping track of Scout. I want to highlight Scout again. This man does so much flanking with the Nico. So while they engage onto Gala, there's no damage follow-up onto Gala, no real threat onto him, and Scout gets to come in for a massive, massive Pop Blossom. And from then forward, LNG unstoppable, running them down.
Yeah, BDD gets like killed in 3 autos by Gala, and as long as Gala doesn't go down, and I think testament to Scout for how much safety he bought, there is just no way for KT to win the subsequent team fight because the burst is simply too much.
Yeah, there's just so much space created for Gala. He has everyone setting him up that he doesn't have to worry about burning summoner spells. He doesn't have to worry about burning anything. If they're going to engage on him with just an Alistar.
and there's none for Aiming. Because Aiming, again, is playing, he needs to dodge the Nico ultimate, he needs to stay away from Jarvan, and he needs to make sure that Jax never gets a jump on him.
100%, and I think the KT composition makes a huge amount of sense if they are in a lead and on an objective first. Because how do you funnel in to an Alistair, Cassante, and a Maokai? You can never do it, but they are never on the objective first, and so they're the ones funneling in to the Jax,
GA done now for Gala.
And the Aphelios. Hex Splash away from Lehens. He knows this tower is not long for the Rift. LNG now pushing in for their second inhibitor. The mid one has respawned. They can work their way across there. KT 5 members strong, trying to mount some sort of last bastion of defense. But the defense has been found wanting so far. LNG continue to push forward.
Yeah, they're not going to stop here. Baron buff, a full minute left, and Gala, he wants blood.
Can Keen hit confirm? He needs the Q3. He's building up towards it. Gala may be overstepping, but does still have the flash to cleanse. Zika takes a little bit of HP. There's a hit for confirm onto Gala, but can they put the damage down? Gala almost into his GA, but he survives with the redemption and with the hostile takeover. And you just can't kill Gala when he's in this sort of form. The Super Mega Death Rocket goes right, and now LNG already got 1 kill on the board. Keen down. The Nexus tower short to follow as LNG turn their eyes towards the Nexus. They don't even need to kill off KT. They've done it on the Rift already. LNG 1-0.
Well. Gala deathless in that game. Well protected by LNG. Nice, really fun opener. I almost said it. Really fun opener to